What's with the heavy side?
I always have a justification for my heavy size.
Who's pissed in your cornflakes today, Steven?
Everyone.
Also, why is the KN and no always highlighted in every single one of these documents?
Well, if it's copy and paste, then that would be why.
Why was it highlighted in the original document?
That's a question for the documenter.
No, it was under his icon, not mine.
I think we've already talked about this and I've already ranted about this, but third-party documentation
made it
is the
worse.
third party's responsibility. That's not my responsibility.
Well,
I understand wanting to have a link to it, but when there's just like 3 of us on the team that read this stuff, just go read the freaking manual.
You at least have to have it stated, here's where to find the manual in your documentation.
Like that's fair, but because from my point of view, if it's expected that we're replicating pieces of that, like relevant pieces of that third-party documentation within our own documentation, that just adds to the pieces that you have to verify are still correct over time. It's just, instead of just pointing to, hey, this is where the third-party documentation is, go figure out what they say about it.
Can you not at least supply a link to the third-party documentation?
I
did. Okay. I would agree with you.
I did after this was a complaint.
But
The complaint was, well, why isn't it in the... It wasn't, hey, can we add a link? It was, no, why isn't all of this explained in the documentation? Because it's not our product. It is a third-party library, so go read their manual.
I'm definitely not gonna disagree with you on that particular point, but in draft number 1, in the proper in the proper documentation etiquette, if you will, the link to the third-party documentation should have been provided originally. If there is third-party documentation that exists, whether you know about it or not, doesn't matter. It's the person after you that's having to mess with this when you're long gone that matters. And so I agree, no. You shouldn't have to copy and paste their entire knowledge base article on the thing that you use. No, absolutely not. That's ridiculous.
Which is incredibly dangerous and should never be done because it will change and you won't have the change.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying.
But yeah, no, if there was third-party documentation to be had, just a quick mention of that this exists somewhere in the ether is not good enough. You need to provide a link to it.
Yeah, the whole thing was...
Sir.
It was had to do with database permissions. Like we were assigning a insert permissions, but not select. I don't understand why you wouldn't go ahead and give it select. It was for a logs table. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand. I've never had this issue because I just do select and insert and call it good. Because if the program needs to read from the log table for whatever reason, we don't really have anything set up to do that right now. But I have talked about setting up we have an admin page that I created for all of our applications. That's just like a drop in, and you have some functionality. One of the things that I wanted to add to that was also a log viewer. So instead of having to sign into like SQL Server Management Studio or something like that, because we don't use the Open Telemetry, I think is the big one, the big platform. We don't use anything like that because that's just a lot of extra overhead that we don't need at the moment. So we have the database is one of the log syncs. There's a text file on whatever machine that the application is running on. That's another, like a backup. And then there's errors will get sent out as emails. So yeah, anyway, instead of having to do like find one of those, just being able to log into the application, because chances are you're going to be in it anyway, and view the logs there and search and stuff like that, instead of having to create queries to, if you're doing the database route, or like regex if you're doing the, text route. I think that would be kind of handy. It would need select access to do that. So yeah. Anyway, it was just a whole thing. It was a whole thing. I did not understand why it was an issue.
So that was the only thing that bothered you this week?
Well, I mean, it's only Tuesday, so
it's close enough.
Yeah. Let's see. What I think there was something that bothered me yesterday. Oh, yeah. we're talking about
system.
we're talking about the request. Okay, so that I did go as a follow up on that, going back and forth on the we only need this one person to be able to approve these forms, or these requests. We specifically want this one person. We don't need to open it up to the whole department. We don't need to have it sent to a generic email for that department. It has to go to this one person. Well, it turns out the solution that we need now is what I proposed like 2 months ago, and said, hey, we need to open it up. We need to send it to the generic, like the shared inbox. We need to have it set up so that the whole department can approve it, and then y'all just hash it out. So I did it in a much more diplomatic way. But basically, that's what I said. And they were like, oh, yeah, that sounds great. Let's do that. That's awesome.
Well done, sir.
Yep. And then here in a month, they'll probably be like, oh, well, we actually need it to also do this other thing too.
Yes. That's usually how that works.
It's a never ending about the whole. I can't really talk about the whole story on air, but like there was an unfortunate series of events that led to the initial changes that then snowballed into a bunch of other changes. And I can't tell if it was like, oh, well, we're already like on their side of things. If they're thinking, well, we're already requesting changes, so let's just keep requesting changes.
Oh, yeah, while we're at it.
It's like, that's not how this works. Like, we needed to figure out what it is that you need. And I did figure it out, and they didn't like the solution. But now they realized that I was right, and that initial solution would have saved us all a lot of trouble. So, yeah. Yep.
You know what also would be nice? There's a button that we should probably hit, because this is probably about as warmed up as we're gonna get.
That's a perfect time. I just got the survey done. So.
What are you doing?
There's a QR code on the cup for the survey for our dinner.
Do you get a free chicken sandwich?
I have no idea, but we just completed it. It was a positive experience. We did it.
Was it a worthwhile survey?
It had a little more questions in it than I was wanting, but yeah.
That's the Arby's. I thought that was a Chick-fil-A cup for some reason. You know why it's called Arby's?
No.
It's Arby's, like roast beef. I'm not the one that made the name.
Thanks, I hate it.
And this is why you don't name things.
I'm not disputing that.
Welcome to Hostility in the Morning Show. I'm your host, John, joined here today by
Nathan,
Steven,
Matthew. You guys got to put some more energy.
From a rating, from a rating of dissatisfied to very satisfied. How are you with that intro today?
Dissatisfied.
Very dissatisfied.
Please sound off in the comments with your rating of our intro today.
Listen, you put a QR code on a cup. I'm curious, so I had to figure out what it was.
This is as bad as you and spam callers.
How long until we go from the whole, don't click on links and emails to don't scan QR codes on
we're already
places.
There. No, we're already there. You're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, Mr. Cybersecurity. What was it? What are you scanning, just random QR codes for?
I'm on a VPN. It's fine. It's not, but it's fine.
Okay. You should at least sandbox as well.
Oh, 100% you should. But it's an Arby's cup, and I was curious why they put a QR code on it.
Again, everyone, do as we say, not as we do.
Yeah, we have fun here.
For the love of God.
Yeah, when you get a spam phone call, just, set a timer, see how long you can keep them on. Longest one was still just under 2 hours.
That's fine if you're into that sort of thing.
It's so fun.
2 hours.
2 hours. Yeah, it was great.
I'm kind of scared to even
trying to get insurance on a Ford F-150 built in 1972 that had the right rear tire replaced about 4 times, has a little shake when you go over 82, and the headliner is definitely not coming off. They wouldn't
That's
give
not
me
the most ridiculous one I've ever heard someone try.
No, they didn't like the Ford Pinto for some reason. You had to give something a little more
that
generic.
still doesn't beat the best one I've heard in person, which was it wasn't as long. I believe the total time was like 20 or 22 minutes. But have you ever been successful in taking the spam caller in the bathroom with you?
Yes.
And faking using the bathroom?
I didn't fake it.
And the
100%. I did not.
Well, I wasn't present for that. I was present for this one.
No, that's when I was back in the apartment. Yeah.
It was absolutely hilarious.
I got bored during COVID. There wasn't much to do. So yeah, I mean.
Did you let out a little toot?
Oh, sir, it was. You could tell the person just kept getting more uncomfortable during the call as they were realizing what is happening now.
Did they keep saying, "Sir"?
No.
Sir.
They kept trying to go on their
they just kept talking.
Their script and everything, and I kept derailing it.
That's a dedicated.
You don't deviate from the script.
That's dedication right there. Sometimes you have to respect the dedication.
If they would have put a QR code on a cup to provide a survey, I would have completed it for them.
Okay, this has gone so far off the rails so quickly.
Well, get it back on the rails, Nathan.
Okay, so when this releases, assuming there isn't any breaking news between now and then,
or if we release it at all,
that's also fair. This will be around the Thanksgiving holiday season. So I thought, let's do something a little less hostile. Now that we've been extremely hostile, we've got the hostility in, but then we could potentially do something a little less hostile and discuss the technology we are thankful for.
The digital technology we're thankful for.
Yes. If it requires batteries or electricity, it might be acceptable, but digital preferred. And I think, Matthew, you had some suggestions,
opinions.
Yep. So the first thing on my list is the millstone, typically used in a grain mill.
Here we go.
Yeah, them stone batteries that they had back then.
All right, let me go ahead and just prop my feet up for this. All right, continue.
Okay, so I've got a few things that I wrote down, and I've got a decent amount of things to choose from. But first on the list, I think, is something that I don't think everybody will agree with, but for me, they are rare these days, and that is non-marshmallow earbuds. So you know the earbuds that come with like the little noise canceling,
noise isolation tips.
The thing that sticks in your ear.
Yeah, that's a marshmallow.
No,
it's an in-ear headphone
made of silicone.
Yeah, I don't like the in-ear. I don't like the in-ear earbuds. I like the Apple style that just kind of sits on the outside.
I'm gonna let you finish,
cut your ear and all that. Yeah, great.
I'm gonna let you finish, but I have a rebuttal.
Yeah, and I didn't think that anybody else would agree with me, but my thing on it is that it's the I don't know, it just messes with my ears too much. Like, they always feel irritated afterwards, and then it messes with the flow of earwax and everything. I don't like those. I do like the ones that don't come with the tips. I very much appreciate
I have a solution for you. Just get you a decent to good pair of in-ear monitors, IEMs. Especially if you can find ones that you want to pay the extra fee to have them molded to your ears. They're the most comfortable headphones you're ever going to wear, including ones that go over your head. IEMs are the best.
I might have to look into that.
Yeah.
Steven.
I have a rebuttal.
Go for it.
Lucky you that you happen to have the same ear anatomy that the inventor or the creator of like the Apple,
that Johnny Ive, Tim Apple have.
The congratulations that you do, because those don't work for everyone. Yeah. I had to suffer through the types of earphones that you're referring to at their inception before they came out with the little nubbies that go in your ear. I'm not going to call it a marshmallow because it's not edible. Anyway.
Not with that kind of attitude.
But anyway, no, I can't use those because my ear holes aren't shaped correctly to actually retain them. Mm-hmm. They just pop out.
Yeah, so I will, with the caveat
I understand where you're coming from. Yeah. I don't disagree with you in that, like, the irritation part. Like, I definitely have to play with the sizes. Thank God they came with sizes eventually.
Yeah.
Because the original, like when they first kind of came out, it was whatever it came with, and that was it.
Yeah.
And it was just the silicone. They didn't have like the memory foam type or anything like that.
Yeah. So, and to preface, this isn't like the original, like just the round, like the original iPod headphones,
because those were
That's
the
what I'm
worst.
those were genuinely awful.
Those were.
I'm talking about like
atrociously
the
bad.
late 2010s, like before the Air. Well, I think the AirPod also.
They
had
still
the
make
same,
them. No, they still make them.
It's that slanted ovular.
Oh, you're talking about the.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I think I have tried those, and I
Yeah.
still can't. They still.
Yeah,
fall
no, I'm
out.
not talking about just like the little circle with the grill on
They
it.
go
Yeah, no.
in. They go in a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
But not like fully into the ear canal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But anyway, yeah. Still though.
So they sit in your ear, but they don't like there's nothing there.
But there are still
plugging the ear.
There are still certain ear anatomies that works for better than others.
Yeah, I understand.
So
maybe you don't have an average ear and I do.
apparently.
Maybe. Now I will say that at least for the ones that I have, I've got a pair of like, Chinese knockoff Amazon ones, and then I've got a pair of gosh, dang it, I'm blanking on the name of the help me out here. It's an audio company, starts with a J.
JBL.
Yes. Yeah, I've got a pair of JBL headphones. And this is, as a side note, JBL support was great. I had ordered a pair of wired headphones through them, or through Amazon, but it was, supplied through JBL. That is that style where it is it's the sit in your ear, but not like plug your ears kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And after I think 2 or 3 months, the left one went out. So I contacted support because it was still under warranty, supposedly. So I contacted support and I was like, hey, this is what's going on. Can I get a replacement? What can I do here? And they said, hey, well, we don't have that exact type anymore, but we'll give you, you can, it was like, I paid, I think $20 for this pair of headphones, and they gave me $30 worth of credit to get a different pair. So I bumped up to the Bluetooth headphones, which was like same style and everything. It was just Bluetooth wireless instead of the wired ones. And those have lasted a long time. They're great. So shout out to JBL Sport. They took care of me as a customer. I really appreciate it. It was no hassle either. They were just like, yeah, sure, we got you. We can see.
It's always nice when you get supports like that.
Yeah. I think if I remember it, I had to send the wired ones back. And then they sent the replacement. But other than that, and like that wasn't a big deal. But other than that, great. So yeah, non-marshmallow headphones.
Steven.
Is that your only list? You said you had a list.
I was giving somebody else a turn.
Okay, we'll come back to something else on your list.
Okay, yeah. I've got plenty of things on my list.
I think I've come up with one. It's not what I was originally thinking, but this just crossed my mind, and I'm gonna go with it. So I am thankful for. I always have to preface things, so I'll preface this too. This is not a in all aspects as a whole, and I'm not speaking to any of the political aspects of this thing as they are to date.
You have to be a diehard supporter of what you're presenting.
No. This is more so just as the thing at its core, and
this is the internet. We don't do nuance.
This is what I do. So y'all can, the internet can. Anyway,
we're gonna have to bleep that.
But
bleep the hand motions of the listeners.
I'm just gonna put a gap in a bleep just to act like I said something. Anyway, to represent the hand motion. But YouTube, I am thankful for YouTube for just what it is at its core and what capabilities it has brought to people in general.
It gave us the Rickroll.
It did. Well, I mean, just there's the entertainment value aspect of YouTube that I think has, I'm not going to say pushed humanity forward. In many ways, it's done the exact opposite. But man, we've got some good laughs out of it.
Yeah, very much so.
But I guess what the part that I'm referring to is just the fact that we have a publicly available platform that you can, if you go and seek it out, you can learn how to do or about just about anything.
Yeah.
I mean,
in a relatively centralized location.
I guess this my whole like what I'm thankful for is the thing that you hear old timers complain about. It's back in my day, you had to actually go to somebody who knew how to do this, an apprentice, and learn how to do. No, if I want to learn how to weld, for all intents and purposes, I can, through effort and perseverance, learn how to weld via YouTube.
You want a playlist? I have one actually for that.
But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, if you like
whatever your interest really is that you want to find out more information on, majority of what that could be is usually found on YouTube. So someone has made content about it.
And the beauty is that like a lot of the thing, just hobby related things, even professional related things, is people took to the platform to such a degree where it's not just I mean there were the early days where there's a lot of no vocals and just people's hands doing things with a little music, and some words that popped up on the screen every now and then, maybe with some instructions, to the point now like people take the intricate knowledge they have of something and some people creators are really good and practically give you a class, like a master class on how to do a thing. And I mean there is, yes, like there's the whole monetization aspect of it. There's other aspects of it that I'm not speaking to. Like, yes, it came with that eventually. But just at its core, what it is and what it can bring to someone who is seeking out either higher knowledge or wanting to learn a new skill or just build their skill or something like that, I think it's a really fantastic thing.
Agreed.
And it gave us really awesome, some hilarious, some really cringy things during its inception.
Some really cringy things. Lots.
It gave us salad fingers.
And lots of cringy things.
Way to age yourself.
So I will say, for those of you who either were not around for, or like me, I mean, I was around for early YouTube, but I just didn't participate.
Yeah, I actually came a little late to. I saw a lot of the OG stuff. Like a few years after they were like, didn't see them. I wasn't one of the first 1,000 viewers of it, like some people my age. But still, I still appreciate it because of the time it came from.
And also, if you did not participate, don't think that you have to go back and look.
Oh no,
you do.
No,
absolutely.
There's some select content.
Sure. About?
Some select content. Sure.
There was some select content, but there's also a lot, so much that
somebody actually needs to do that. Somebody, and maybe someone already has. Someone needs to create a digital history course on YouTube, and it's like how they have
classic YouTube,
like they have
YouTube classics.
They have like American history from this year to 18 something, and then like the time periods. They need to have YouTube from day one to like
simple
YouTube the first few years.
Legitimately, it wouldn't be that hard to pivot. Just go reach out to the team who maintains Know Your Meme, because they're the ones who stay on top of all that anyway. So it'd be between them and probably like archive.org. It shouldn't be that hard.
And then it needs to be taught as a course in school.
Well, I'd say it shouldn't be that hard. I'm like, well, that's a lot of content actually to sort back through and figure out.
Call the course How to Understand Millennials.
Do we want that? I don't think we want that.
No, probably not.
It's probably a little early for that.
You say that.
It's still probably a little early for that.
Sharon's running around.
So tech that I am thankful for.
What are you thankful for, Nathan?
I am thankful for self-saving documents.
Okay.
You're so practical about it.
So the cloud.
Not actually, no.
That would be self-propagating document.
Because this actually.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you can just do autosave on regular Word to your.
This actually came about before the cloud. There were applications that did it before this. So shout out to Evernote. Evernote was the first application that I was able to use where I could just type out and then close it and not worry about saving it. Because I don't know if those of you who are listening, especially you younger people, I don't know. Be thankful you will rarely have to deal with the pain that is spending hours on a document and then closing it without saving it. That was a thing. That was 100% a thing. And it hurt so much. And as not great as it is now compared to other applications, including like Word itself, because Word itself basically in most cases, or in many cases, will autosave. OneNote, that was the OG of the Microsoft applications that could just save. That saved me so much work. So much work.
Yeah, I think I actually experienced a couple of times some kind of research paper or just some paper or whatever I was writing, and yeah, I didn't save my changes. I had to go back and redo it.
It was not 100% because I was a great student, wonderful student back in the day. Definitely was not my go-to excuse of, oh my gosh, I was working on it, my computer crashed, I lost my paper. Can I have an extension? Definitely didn't do that, like ever.
And also, for those of you who may find yourselves one day responsible for a really old knowledge base, and the entire knowledge base is in OneNote notebooks. I hear you. I feel your pain. I have suffered that pain.
Fix it.
However, I freely admit I'm also partially responsible for some of that pain, because if the knowledge base is from whenever OneNote came out and a couple of years afterwards, that is why, because it was so incredibly revolutionary that people used it, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, people thought it was like the greatest thing since sliced bread, and
because it was
like justified it to a fault. I mean, we worked with a tech and our team lead for a time who
thought it was the best thing to store entire knowledge base in, as you were describing.
He was almost, well, he wouldn't have been long term, but at that point in time, he was almost successful in implementing that as our standardized documentation solution, at least for our office.
Which would have been the biggest mistake we ever could have made.
Thankfully, we kind of quietly fought against it.
Oh, we abandoned it.
Yeah.
Shared OneNote was a great idea that was never properly executed.
It's gotten better. If you integrate OneNote into a team site, it's actually quite great. I'll be honest, especially
That's fair.
If you're not for a knowledge base, if you're like, I use it for basic project note information or like meeting key points that needs to get like sent over to a formal document. It's great. It's great for that.
See, that's the problem with, in my opinion, that's the problem with any platform that comes out and it's nifty and people think, ooh, this will be great for my productivity or my documenting things. Is I think a lot of people have that thought that you just expressed of, oh, I'll just put some stuff in here like immediately, just to immediately jot down notes, retain thoughts that I had in the moment, and then I'll move it over to the official knowledge base later. That's the core issue with it. It's people have that thought and they never do it.
That's called
and then that's how it becomes the knowledge base. Is there's always the intention of, oh, I'll go back later and I'll clean this up. We'll put this in the official knowledge base, and it never happens. Right?
I don't put anything mission critical in there, so sure. I see your point,
and that's
that's not how I operate with it. But
that's why, that's some context of why we argue. Oh, yeah. Some of us argue so potently against those types of things for documentation. But it's not that it's bad in the moment that you're doing. Like you can technically organize it in ways that make sense. It's just it's not good for the long-term knowledge base and storage of that information. And once you start down the path, it says just don't start down the path. Just don't put yourself in that situation.
Well, because you brought up an interesting point at the beginning of what you said there, and people that see something new and like, oh, that's neat. There's a reason it's called the bleeding edge. If you go ahead and quickly adopt these types of things when they're not fully ready for the original intent and how it's being adapted to use, then you will experience some of that bleed effect. You're gonna have some pain. That is what it is. If you want stability, give it a year or two. That's why I always recommend for any of these new technologies out there is give it some time, especially if it's a Microsoft product. If it's a new Windows deployment, probably give it 2 years before
Sit
you
back and watch all the early adopters
suffer
and cry about it and be entertained for a little bit. Then go explore it.
Hello, I am one of those that suffer, but it's fine.
You do that to yourself.
It's my own decision. I'm more informed than the average individual, and I still do this to myself because it's fun.
Speaking of fun, Jonathan, what's something that you're thankful for in
Steven,
the tech space?
What is your laptop again?
What era is it from?
Yeah, what MacBook do you have?
This is a believe it's a 2010 13-inch MacBook Pro.
I'm thankful for the 2010 13-inch MacBook Pro because it is a constant source of entertainment. Of just your trials and tribulations.
It's a solid machine, man.
It's a machine. I wouldn't say solid, but it's a machine.
14 years later, it's sitting here running Windows 10, whatever the last version it would take.
It's like a Toyota. It just keeps going.
You said that there was a an update that happened recently. One of the big ones.
Yeah, there was a not for Windows. It was for another piece of software.
Oh, okay, never mind.
But I mean, Windows 10's about to hit end of life soon. So
I don't know if I'm actually.
You can't go to 11 on that. I know that for a fact.
Oh, I know that, but I don't actually think I'm on 20. What's the last one here? 22H2.
22H2. All right. Serious answer was legitimately, and Matthew may cringe on this a little bit. Was the Xbox.
Nice.
There's a very big reason for that.
Like the original Xbox?
The Xbox 360. There and those ones were, I mean, yes, we gamed and had a lot of great fun, getting together as kids back in the day. And those are always great fond memories, but without having those devices, I legitimately wouldn't be on the career path that I am right now. Those are the ones that got me into hardware, learning software, learning how to soft mod, things of that nature. That's what kind of helped scratch the itch initially, that then it escalated quite a bit from that point forward.
Escalated is the correct word.
But no, like that one it was the first device that was mine that I could legitimately tinker with. And it was great.
And if it weren't for the Xbox, we would have never gotten Xbox Live.
I probably would have been a better person if I didn't have Xbox Live.
That's the when the meme of like pushing the upgrade button. Like once Xbox Live came out, that's when the go back should have started.
Yeah, if they ever release the text or voice chats from the Modern Warfare 2 lobbies,
woo,
I'm done.
Yeah,
give it another 15 to 20 years, and instead of like old tweets or like college pictures and stuff like that, it's gonna be
transcripts.
It's gonna be like Call of Duty lobbies and stuff like that. That's what's gonna get politicians.
Oh man, yeah.
That's gonna.
We need to stay out of the public sector.
We need to stay out of the public sector for sure. Yeah, if that starts happening, definitely.
Like either it's going to happen, or an entire generation is just going to collectively say, that's
no longer
off the table.
That's no longer relevant. We all fell for that trap.
Maybe that'll be the one time where we all stand behind the government when they censor that information. it's like, oh yeah, no, that can be deleted.
You know what? That's fair.
That's
fair.
You're gonna give that to the CIA and they're gonna put it in a black site. Cool. Done.
I wouldn't. Let's not give it to the CIA. Why don't we all agree? We're gonna take it to the deepest part of the ocean, and we're just gonna drop those drives in there, and we'll just call it a day.
Yeah, we need
Just melt the drives down.
We need to observe. We need a certified person to observe the data being moved onto a hard drive, and then that hard drive being escorted to the Marianas Trench and dropped and never seen again.
No. Melt it down. You have to melt it down.
Ooh, no, we could have Elon launch it to the
Cast
sun.
it into the fire.
No, melt it.
Well, you launch it to the sun, and the sun melts it.
I think that would be like give it a proper send off. Like make this a national moment.
I
Disposing of the Call of Duty chat log.
It sounds ridiculous, but I think this is all very justified.
It's
honestly.
100% justified.
Yeah.
No, but let's also be honest. How many of those records were on servers that everyone forgot what the servers did? The servers got decommissioned and all the drives got recycled.
Oh, guaranteed a good amount.
Hopefully a bunch of it's been written over by now.
Yeah. However, there is a not 0% chance that these can still be leaked. So
yeah,
agreed. But also, there's also the
oh no, what if for some reason they are still spinning out there on drives, just in a forgotten part of the data center?
Keep AI away from it.
I was about to say, what if AI finds
keep it away?
No, it's probably too slow.
What if you trained an AI?
It was bad enough when it got a hold of Reddit and Twitter.
I was going to say, they're already training it on Reddit. You don't need to go.
What if you trained an AI on old Xbox Live
It won't be as bad as Reddit and Twitter.
You say that.
No, it can't be because things have degenerated
How
much more
Call
since
of Duty did you play back in the day?
It was bad. It was bad. Like legitimately.
I played with my buddy that I was roommates with, and a dude from, as far as we could tell, probably like early 20s, late teens, early 20s from Miami, and this 12-year-old kid from Ohio. The 12-year-old kid was the worst. I literally played on a regular basis with one of the stereotypical kids that had a room in his basement and cussed like a sailor, and like his parents had no parental supervision whatsoever. I lived it.
Somebody come get your kid.
Weird. That was my first like old man moment in life at 19. When I'm like, I mean, I'm just I'm a 19-year-old.
You're still a moron.
I'm sitting here thinking to myself in my head like, God, where are his parents? Like, dude, are you doing that around your parents? What's wrong with you? I mean, then it clicked. I'm like, wait, oh God, that's an old man thought. What's happening here?
It's called maturing.
That was weird. It kind of felt funny.
Yeah, it happens.
But I like that. That's a good one. Yeah, because I mean, there's the
without that. I mean, remember, XBMC back in the day. Xbox Media Center. Think about it, Steven. I would.
Yeah.
I would not have the home theater without that.
I know. I am definitely guilty of not guilty in a bad way, but just I definitely listened to CDs in my room. On Xbox Media Center in the same way that you would listen to music on Windows Media Center.
Yeah.
And have like the cool little graphic playing and stuff.
Okay. I miss proper
Windows Media Player.
Well, not just proper Windows Media Player, but proper home media interface on computer.
We grew up with iTunes
because
we had Windows Media Center and then Winamp, but I mean Winamp still exists, but it's kind of gotten a little.
I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about, I don't know, do you remember the iMac actually came with a remote?
Oh no.
A IR Blaster remote.
I mean, I remember that for Windows Media Center, you can get one of those that the remote literally had a Windows button in the center of it.
I saw those. Yeah.
So Apple had the same thing. You hit the button and it would bring up this well done media center. And you could go to music, you go to the movies, you go to podcast, whatever.
Podcast didn't exist back then.
Actually, I think it did. Or at least it was
not with the understanding that we have now.
That's true. But it was. I missed that. That's sending me down some.
Well, nowadays you just
rabbit trails.
You cast your phone to whatever smart device, and
the menus are so laggy. I said
agree.
Good.
I agree.
Good interface. We don't have good interfaces right now.
This is why I have disabled the network on my, in quotation marks, smart TV, and I just have a PC underneath. That's what I use.
Yeah.
I
It's
can't
hard to-
stand
well,
the
Yeah, and
Yeah,
garbage smart TVs these days. Like, give me a dumb TV.
Google TV, Android
Give
TV
me a
is not
dumb
bad.
TV.
yeah, no, Google TV and Android TV is the older version, but
I was gonna say the
Android
same
TV
thing,
is
but-
fine. Google TV is significantly
Yeah.
better, especially on the performance side. I do like it. It's just the hardware baked into TVs for the actual management and running of the OS. They just bog it down so much. That's where it's like I like having dedicated streamers or a dedicated like PC,
Yeah.
like a home theater
Yeah.
PC hooked up
It
directly
would be
to it.
nice.
It's great.
I understand that it would obviously raise the cost, and that would kind of suck. But yeah, they could definitely put way more powerful hardware in smart TVs.
Or
to actually-
hear me out. Let me buy a dumb TV,
They
and then I'll just plug a Raspberry Pi into
I mean,
it.
you
No,
can still
fuck-
make a smart TV dumb. Like you can still use it as.
But
dumb
what if?
TV.
Well,
if
no,
they
like-
could if they would drop the price by like 100, 150 bucks,
see, they
not
can't do
include
that.
all that hardware.
Why would they do that?
you would all yeah you're looking at professional grade monitors. Like they make monitors like conference rooms, things of that nature, where that's exactly what you're asking for, and they are great. They're just pricey.
They cost
It-
twice as much as
That's
the
what
smart
I'm
TV
saying.
you're looking
That's what
at.
I'm saying.
It's because the cost
Like,
is
it's
actually
more cost effective to get the in quotation marks smart technology.
well because it has the scalers and all the stuff in it. Like those ones are actually I do understand the justification price for those to an extent because it's one lower volume and two the additional cost they put in is for usually a higher grade panel and it's certified to a specific professional standard that they are sick. I do honestly want one eventually now that I have like again I don't need a smart TV. I have everything else that can drive it that would be a much better function anyways, but the additional cost is a hard one to justify when you can get very, very good 65, 75-inch TVs. Like we're still, I mean, I'm not going to say cheap, but cheaper than what
Way cheaper than they were.
than they used to be. Like
Yeah.
again, I mean, I still haven't made the jump to OLED yet because my problem is I do keep TVs longer than 5 years, and OLEDs still have that issue where they really only warranty them for 5 years because after that they start to degrade or they already have degraded to that period. Where standard LCDs like the mini LED or QLED or things of that nature, in my opinion, I'm not gonna say it's a superior technology, but it's a more reliable technology long term, which is why I still have them.
But
Even
yeah,
though
no,
I love OLED.
I would. I always was a proponent. Well, ever since I got into computers heavily, I've been a proponent for HTPCs.
Yeah.
I think yes, it is a superior performing home theater experience for whatever you're doing, even
Oh,
whether
yeah.
it's streaming, whether it's using even a software like Jellyfin or Plex or whatever. Like you get better performance out of it, hands down. But I would say that at least from interface, like obviously with that you're interfacing with a computer operating system, something you're familiar with. The one caveat to it is I don't care what you're using as a control as an interface for the computer. Nothing beats a remote. The fact
agree.
that like it's like again like if you can get a good UI like Google TV like that you actually do like and like using.
Yeah.
There's nothing as
Well-
simple and as easy as being able to just have the little remote and navigate and just the thing do that what you want it to do.
And that's where
It's not going to perform as well.
Correct.
There's no getting
but see,
around that.
and that's
but-
an interesting thing, is that's where I was researching before I bought the streamer that I have now. Was I was looking for an actual OS that could fit that need, that I can load it on like a mini PC or a dedicated home theater PC, use it with a standard remote. Like, can you get Android on one of these boxes? And like
Just throw
technically,
Windows 8 on there.
no. And that's where it's like I wouldn't. There's a hole in that market space right now where you can have a developer like what MB and Kodi has, which runs on top of standard OS, but have a dedicated OS or something that if you want to have that experience, here's a box you can buy that doesn't run Android on it, because Android, there's still some limitations and certifications and things that you have to get along with it. But I didn't research it that hard, but I couldn't find a native thing that would fulfill what I wanted, which again, I still wanted to integrate with my Jellyfin server because that's where my main streaming happens. I have everything set up the way that I like. Just for clarification, like I have that Dune HD Premiere 4K Pro. It's a really stupid name. They should figure that out eventually, but that's a great streamer. Their built-in Dune HD app that you have to sideload to get it working is absolutely garbage, but it runs Jellyfin amazing, and that is the best quality stream I have ever experienced, even off a really nice home theater PC. Go ahead.
Yep, HDPCs are great. Have you looked into OSMC?
I have not.
Okay, that's what I would recommend. I haven't used it before, but that's basically what you're looking for.
OSMC.
This looks like Jellyfin.
Yeah, the thing about OSMC
it's
is
a device.
It's a client.
I'm assuming
Jellyfin
it stands
is
for
a
like
server.
what? Open Source Media Center. Yeah, Open Source Media Center. Okay.
Yep. So I'll let you look into that. To kind of tie into, John, your previous, what you're thankful for and what Nathan was thankful for, flashcards. Like, does anybody know what a flashcard is?
The old like paper-based flashcards for studying?
No,
like
no, not flashcard, flashcart.
Oh yes.
I figured you would know. So back in the day, Steven, consoles had these things called cartridges. And so you would have a cartridge with some kind of storage medium on it, and you would plug that cartridge into the console. Kind of like how CDs and DVDs work. And like these days,
you had to blow on it first.
Yeah, you had to blow on it first. These days, the kids just have like downloads, and they don't even get to experience the joy of opening a box and having some physical, tangible thing there.
That's right. With a picture on it.
Yeah, but with that, trying to manage a bajillion cartridges can get kind of unwieldy.
It was cumbersome, yeah.
So flash carts are where that problem is solved. So basically what most of them are is just a SD card adapter with some fancy software on it to read from the SD card so you can play off of modern storage on an ancient device. Ancient in quotation marks. So like I've got a flash cart for my Game Boy Color and a flash cart for my I think I actually have one for each of my Nintendo devices. So I've got one for the Game Boy Color. I've got one for the Game Boy Advance. The Game Boy Advance cartridge doesn't play Game Boy Color games. I don't remember why, but there was like a specific thing for that.
That's weird because Game Boy Advance will natively play Game Boy
Color. It does,
but
the hardware was different. And the like for the cartridges, the hardware was different, and I think how it's set up is.
But you could stick a Game Boy Color cartridge in a Game Boy Advance.
But it's a separate cartridge. It's a different thing. So I'd have to go back and look at the details to figure out why you couldn't play the ROMs off of a Game Boy Advance flash card. But either way, I have both because I have a Game Boy Color and a Game Boy Advance. And to add on to this, flash carts make the experience great because I can just load a bunch of ROMs on it, and then I don't have to juggle like the actual cartridges if I don't want to. It also solves the problem of saves getting corrupted. So like Nathan's thing of auto saving documents and stuff like that. It's much easier to manage backups of saves and everything like that. Because that's the one thing that I remember was a absolute nightmare with the GameCube. Like the experience of the GameCube is something that I don't think any modern console can touch. Not even the Switch. Like the Switch is close because you still have a lot of the physical pieces to it, but the GameCube with the controllers, like plugging a controller into a port, right? Popping your disc in, closing the lid, putting in your memory card, like all of that stuff was just it was an experience. It wasn't just it was a full experience. But the thing that the massive drawback was the memory cards. I can't count how many times like the memory cards would get corrupted and then you'd have to start over on whatever game it was.
See, I never got into the PlayStation platform. I went straight from Sega Genesis to I went straight from Sega Genesis to Xbox, and then Xbox 360. So I was always on a platform that had internal storage.
Yeah, either internal storage in the console or in the cartridge.
Now, to be fair though, for the GameCube, we did have one memory card die.
Yeah. Well, we had one memory card die. We had a bunch that would just, and part of it was probably improper usage, right? Like we were dumb kids.
Sure.
And we would just turn it off or unplug it or whatever. And that.
They did not make it idiot proof.
They did not. So it was, I'm not saying that it was the console's fault. 100%. Like it was a lot of user error. So I will give it that. But the safety net that most modern flash storage provides is great. Comparatively, like it's still flash storage, but comparatively. So flash cards are great. On top of that, at the LED screens that you can get for old handhelds are gorgeous,
especially for the Game Boy Advance. That is the best way to play Game Boy Advance games. Is get one of those updated LCD screens on it, throw it in. They actually have some button upgrades now that really improve the tactile feel, and it's like the SP is a great device. Just buy original Advance, throw that in, pay like an extra it's like $40-50 to get all the upgrades into it, and then like you're done.
The SP's great, but the because
replacing
of the backlit
the screen is a nightmare.
And the built-in battery, both of those are nice.
Yeah.
But the form factor is not good. Like in my opinion, it's not. And I played
for our size hands
hundreds of hours on it.
Like if you're a child, it fits. Yeah.
Like I
that's
played
what it was designed for child.
I played on a Game Boy SP more than I played on an original GBA. But right now, and I still have it, but I have the original GBA that I put an LED screen in. And I also did it for the Game Boy Color. Game Boy Color looks gorgeous.
They're great
with a LED. I'll have to bring it sometime because it's something else. It is something else. I don't know how we survived as kids without backlit screens.
I can tell you exactly.
There was a process.
It's a whole new world.
It wasn't fun.
At night, you're having to point at the street lights, or if you were fancy how we got, you can either get that adapter, that little worm light, or if you were really fancy, you got the clip-on light that also made the screen bigger.
We had three different ones. We had a couple different worm lights, right? Some of them were like a little like it was a yellower light, and some of them were like a little LED.
Yeah.
And then we had Nathan. You remember like that black, like
the black one was the best.
It looked like a camera flash, like that you just hook onto it and then it points at the screen. And then we also had and
that was the best way to do it.
It was a really good one. And then we also had like what you were describing, John, the like the Nyko. It's got the magnifying glass built in as well. So there was like different options there. I'll get a picture of my my Sega Game Gear, and we can add it into the show notes because it's got these huge chunky battery grips on it. I got this off of eBay. I think I have like 2 of them, but this one, it's got these huge chunky battery grips on it. The thing looks like just a tank, but it's also got this
the standard Game Gear looks like a tank.
This massive viewfinder on it, or like to magnify the screen.
Oh wow!
And then there's something else in there too. I need to fix it because the screen is dead. Like it doesn't do it.
Have you recapped it yet? Because a lot of them come back when you recap it.
Yeah, there's a bunch of things that I need to do with it. It's the only thing that I haven't gone through. And a flash cart for that last I looked was like $100.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't want to do too much with it just yet. But one day I would like to get it working so that I can just sit there in all its glory. But it is something else. It is something else. They don't make game consoles
really
like they used to.
They don't make them like they used to.
The only thing that kind of brought back some of that, I've got to, because you've had one, my brother had one before. The Steam Deck is kind of the closest thing that kind of brought back that type of nostalgia feel of, oh yeah, I can definitely see myself road tripping with this and being able to just enjoy my games again, like just on the go. Because the last handheld I legitimately bought that gave me that same feeling was the DS Lite, way back. Because I never got the DSi, I never got the 3DS. Like I have a new 3DS XL I got a couple years ago, but not when they were kind of new. Back then. Like those devices go. The way that we have advanced through mobile gaming now, we had the dark times, which was the smartphones, and now we're getting actual good portable PCs again. It's going to be interesting because now you're legitimately going to have really nice direct competitors to the consoles eventually. And being able to take that type of quality on the go wherever you are is going to be a really interesting shift in the market.
I'd say the Steam Deck is already there.
It's close when it comes to the majority of it, but
Yeah.
you're still talking about 720p gaming for the majority of it. As soon as you can get something that's like a PS5 or a Series X legitimately just in your hands day to day that you're able to play like at least 1080p 60 consistently across the board, new AAA titles.
Yeah.
That's what I'm definitely
to be fair, at that screen size, it doesn't make that much
correct.
of a difference.
The PPI doesn't make difference, but it's hitting that kind of goal of that's what the previous generation of consoles, like the PS4 and the Xbox One series, that was their goal was 1080p 60 majority of the time. And then they had the refresh, which were like, oh, we can do 4K now. Kind of, not really. Wasn't the best performance. Wasn't very consistent performance. Owning both those consoles, I can vouch for that.
I'm not going to worry about it till they have handheld hologram gaming devices.
That would be sick, but we're not ready for that. We still haven't quite grasped what VR can really provide for us. There's only been a handful of really innovative VR games that can kind of set where the technology is. Like Half-Life Alyx was one where you really were able to see how far you can push this tech right now. And there hasn't really been another title or tech demo that has kind of surpassed that, at least in my opinion, of the impact of what that game provided. So you're needing some more innovation on that point before you get to the holograms, because then you're still talking like mixed reality, then kind of the hologram projection and all that interesting stuff. Because if we can't fully utilize the tech we have now, trying to pursue that type of option,
we were also supposed to have flying cars, but
to Steven's credit, though, I think if we had holographic technology, that would actually go a lot farther than VR. Even if it's like the Star Wars holographic technology where it's all blue and it's like
because I want to think that
because the big drawback for VR is the just the motion sickness and that kind of thing. Like I would imagine that you wouldn't have that with holograms because you're not strapping a screen to your face and then you're
still just looking at a thing in space.
You're looking at a thing with your own eyes that is in space.
I really want to think that I could be very wrong because I'm not in, I'm not reading articles and I'm not, delving into the space of VR and like what's the cutting edge, what more people are really saying. But I mean, in day-to-day life and seeing, just some other people's day-to-day life, like, you watch people on YouTube, stuff like that. I'm not seeing VR's been around. You're right. There's stuff that still is yet to be worked out in VR and things that can be pressed forward. But I'm still not seeing mass adoption of people getting them for practical things, like having a VR headset with them all the time in their backpack and strapping it on to do some quick thing or do some like. I kind of feel like VR will not go away, but it's never going to become the ubiquitous thing that people are acting like it's going to become.
No,
I feel like
you're going to have to step into that mixed reality eventually.
Because people being people, humans being humans, as cool as some of this stuff is, there's still a sense of when you're putting yourself in virtual reality, as nice as this is sometimes, you are disconnecting from reality. You're disconnecting from the things around you, people around you. And instinctually, we don't like that because we're social creatures. And so I just feel like this whole the concept of VR of like, oh yeah, everybody will just have their own virtual reality and we'll interact with each other in virtual reality and all this stuff. It goes against our nature, even though like we want to think that that's what we want. I think that augmented reality will definitely be...
I know what you want. We need to take a small step back and pivot slightly. We need to bring
a cabin in the woods.
Not that far.
Not that far. Okay.
We need to bring back Google Glass. Remember Google Glass?
Oh, yes, 100%. No,
that was definitely that was way ahead of its time.
Yes,
that's what Meta's Orion is supposed to take over for.
Okay.
That's the next. That's the
next iteration.
They're not doing the. It's not the headset. It's glasses.
Okay. The biggest mistake that Google Glass made, and it would have taken off a lot faster if they had made one simple change. They had just removed the camera from it.
Yes.
That would have taken off.
Yeah, that's the. I mean, there's obviously those.
Well,
other,
and then
those implications.
Then
with
they didn't
things.
have the a true assistant really ready for that type of market either. Now that could have helped drive the development of it a bit faster if again it wasn't such a commercial flop.
It would have. What would have helped is if they had gotten rid of the camera, so that would have been, you would have gotten rid of that issue. But also that came out in the early days of the smartwatch.
Yeah,
that could have, at the time, that could have definitely been a major competitor to smartwatches, because it gives you the same basic functionality people, myself included, wanted a smartwatch for, which is basically a heads-up display for your phone.
Yeah, and that's always been my thought is, I see long term, as far as where like the iPod introduced it wasn't the first, but it was the biggest. It introduced to the mainstream.
It was the one that
the digital media
set
player,
the standard.
the thing that you carried around with you everywhere you went with a set of headphones, and the iPod.
Don't knock the CD Walkman.
No, well, I'm getting there.
I was going to say the tape Walkman.
The iPod replaced the portable CD player, effectively replaced.
Mm-hmm.
And then things like Pandora, Spotify, stuff like that replaced the iPod
further,
as far as the ubiquitous. Like now it's just on your phone and you have the thing with you all the time anyway. But as far as a thing you carry around and use on a daily basis, that's a practical device, a practical wearable device.
Yeah.
AR glasses, a glasses format device that's augmented reality. I believe that's going to be the thing that comes to pass, as opposed to a VR headset.
Nah, we're going to skip all that. We're going to go straight to Neuralink. Just trust Mr. Musk and just put the chip in your head. It's fine.
Get out of my head.
I'll pass on that one.
Yeah, I'm good.
We are definitely, especially since how quickly technology gets updated and changed. Why would you then want to essentially permanently embed something inside of you that can easily be like circumvented in less than a couple months?
God, and what if you had to do some kind of like physical MFA? Like instead of having to enter an MFA code, like because you don't have like an interface, there's like blink sequences. So like every time you wanted to do something with the Neuralink, it's like
we're supposed to be talking about things we're thankful for, not dystopias.
Input your MFA
went to
code.
dystopia.
You go to your MFA app, and it's like it doesn't. It's like can't just read it. So you have to like blink once for 1, 2 for 2. Like you have to do like this blink sequence. To enter your
now
MFA
just think
code.
what people can do with a flipper zero near that thing.
So things we're thankful for. Bringing it back to that. On the topic of Elon Musk, though, Starlink.
Starlink.
I'm gonna have, now. Granted, I need to preface this with saying I haven't actually set it up yet, because we haven't moved into the new house yet. I did order it,
nice,
and so it should be delivered tomorrow, actually. But without Starlink, I don't think we would have had a hope of having a decent internet connection at the new house, because it's a rural.
And Starlink has
location.
It has done a lot of good in the it's maybe done equal parts. Maybe not so good as well, but
I would say that
there's quite a bit of good that Starlink has, the capability of Starlink has done in the world since its inception.
I think it's a really fascinating technology and the upgrades that they're making to it. Like I can't explain half of it. I watched a 10-minute video before this because I was putting it on my list, and I wanted to be able to speak to it a little bit. There's satellites in space that beam the internet to my house.
Yes,
like that's
now to be fair,
that
technology has existed for decades at this point.
It has,
but
the way that Starlink
does it is a far more effective solution.
Well, because it's multi-layered satellites. You're not just pinging off, a small array. You're actually not commandeering, but you're reserving certain select tiers of them depending on the type of connection that you're having.
That, and it's more so it has implemented mesh networking.
Yes.
Whereas before you had.
It was
one or two satellites.
It was typically single point to point.
You had they had 3 to 5 satellites in space, and that was handling all of their customers' traffic.
Yeah.
And you were just you pretty much connected to a satellite. It may have handed off to another at some point, but also the orbit was much higher in
Yes.
the older satellites. Starlink orbits at a much lower
They're-
altitude.
Well, and that's what I was saying. It's like because they actually have multiple satellites that orbit at different heights as well, depending on like your area and
Yeah.
the availability and things
But
of
it's
that nature.
you don't have to worry about that whole point it to the southern sky nonsense. It's just you point the thing up and it connects to a satellite.
Yeah.
And then when that satellite starts to move over, it hands off to the next one in a mesh
Yeah.
network
Yeah.
setup.
So they fixed
And-
basically they fixed two of the big problems. One of them was latency because of how
Well, it's
far
not
out the-
fixed. It's not fixed.
it's not
It's not
It
100%,
is
bad.
far, far better
but
than
it
it
is
was.
better. It's better
It's actually
than
usable.
the other
Yes,
satellites.
you will always have latency with a
With
any
wireless
type
of wireless connection.
implementation.
Yeah.
You will always have latency, and satellite will always give you significant latency.
Yes, they fixed
but-
the latency problem compared to existing technology,
yes,
and
by a lot.
by having their it's I think it's LEO, low Earth orbit satellites. And then they're also with the mesh network and everything, they're fixing a lot of the reliability issues there too. So that's nice. Also, as a side note, I remember we were talking about it, I think off air a while back, how the Gen 2 router doesn't have a Ethernet port on it. Like the Gen 1 had one. The Gen 2 had an adapter that you could buy for it. The Gen 3, which I don't know how I missed this when I was looking it up, has 2 Ethernet ports built in.
My God.
They brought it back.
My God.
Who
You
would've
mean
thought?
they actually did something that was
Yeah.
consumer
Are
driven?
they gigabit or are they multi-gig?
That's a fantastic question. I'll have to look
I would
that
really
up.
hope
Yeah.
they're at least 2.5.
Because 2.5 is not expensive anymore. It's come
Yeah.
down so much in
I would
price.
think so. And I'll
Because
find out. I'll
it's
find out
the
soon enough.
Intel 1226 V5.
How much
or
is
V6
how much
the
is a
newest one.
gigabit in megabytes or megabit?
1024.
1024. Okay, so we wouldn't even hit that because the max speeds for
Well, there's more to it than that.
Yes.
okay, because like the max speeds for local
There's also latency considerations when you're talking about port speeds and stuff.
okay, for like wired local network, the port speeds would be great, but for at least the incoming network, the highest
Yeah, no, I mean all
they
you're going to
advertise
get.
at least is 250 down.
Yeah, wow.
So
And I think most
That's
people are
fine.
consistently getting 120 to 150.
Yeah, because my T-Mobile connection, I only get like between 50 and 100. Actually, sometimes even less than 50, depending on the day. But like again, it's more than enough for me to stream 4K streams and play some games that require low latency. Like no, you can't. But others, it's like yeah, it's fine. You will have to see what your latency is because your throughput's going to be fine to do most things.
yeah,
Downloads may take a little bit longer, uploads may take a little bit longer, but for the day-to-day operations, you're not really going to feel that much difference between that and a standard copper connection.
Yeah.
Now, fiber, completely different story.
Which on it, but to be fair, when you're talking about the fact that this is a satellite internet connection, that is the leaps and bounds
Yeah.
greater than
100%.
what they were, 6-7 years ago.
Yeah, because for me, when I was looking like potential satellite out here, I think the fastest I was going to get was like 25 down.
Yeah.
I was like,
It's
nope,
Also,
that ain't going to work.
it's also a racket.
Yeah.
Or a con or whatever you want to call it. Their pricing scheme
we're talking about
is
things we're thankful for right now.
horrible.
We can talk about HughesNet another day.
I'm thankful for open source firewalls that support multi-WANs and failover connections.
There you go. I'm actually
It's
actually my
super handy.
original thing that I was thinking of. We don't have to go into this, but before I thought of the YouTube thing was not necessarily cloud-based networking, but remote accessible network devices.
yes,
So
Mhm.
basically,
like SSH has been a thing
so
for a long time. but-
modern networking devices, firewalls and switches and such that you can access through a web browser.
Yes,
I know SSH is the thing. I'm not talking about SSH. I'm talking about you actually
Like a-
log into a
yeah.
GUI in a web
He
browser.
likes GUIs.
and- yes.
Remember
well,
that?
on that note, like RDP, I really have that's one Microsoft thing that I do have an appreciation
Remote-
for.
Just
remote
lock
access
down
to
port
things.
3389. Don't leave that exposed to the World Wide Web.
But no, yeah, remote access to things is just
It's great.
It's fantastic. And there has obviously been a lot of problems that have come along with that, and there's a lot of things, extra hassle that we have to deal with these days
The
because of it.
complexity grows.
But the general convenience of being able to remotely access physical things
especially headless, is so nice.
Yeah.
Not needing a monitor is wonderful.
Just being able to use a standardized monitor, keyboard, and mouse at one station that you can utilize for multiple machines without having to make another physical connection is great.
But it did do away with something really cool. It did away with those 1U rack mounted KVM flip up.
No, those still exist.
I know.
Yeah, people.
But you
That
don't
is
really
very
need
popular in
those
the data
anymore.
center. Yeah, you actually for local access to machines, you especially in a data center scenario, you have to have a KVM.
Yeah, you always
You-
for
the-
the
which
listeners,
those are our KVMs.
Just because we love remote access to things, we love running things headless. It's awesome. It's great. You always still need to have a way to just normally physically access a thing the way that the Lord intended.
Which is why I'm very thankful for KVMs because it simplified Megadesk so much.
Are you thankful for Megadesk?
I am very thankful
Desk.
for Megadesk. It's great.
That's like multiple categories of electronics.
Just like to dial it back a little bit, standing desks.
Love standing
desks
desks.
is a great. If we want to call that a
Best in-
technology,
a
Yes.
very good.
That's a great
invention.
technology.
Yes.
do you don't
It's
have a
because he
standing
doesn't
I do.
have one.
You do have a standing
You have
desk.
a manual
Not
one
at
that you
home.
have to lift, and it's a
Yeah.
process. It's a thing, and
I
then
mean,
you
I
also don't like standing because you don't have
I've just
I got a
got
comfy chair. I don't know what do y'all want to stand for.
because it's healthy for you.
yeah.
Because when you're needing to scream at the sky, it's more impactful when you can really get the full
No, but
body
hear me
engaged.
out. Hear me out though. With the advent of standing desks and the fact that it's healthier for you, like you get to stretch your legs and stand up and all that.
Yeah.
It has taken away the excuse to have to get up from your desk and go somewhere else to walk and stretch your legs and then come back.
I still do that.
Not
though.
unless you have one of those under desk treadmills.
Where you can hide from people.
Yes,
I said treadmill.
that said the hammock.
Oh God, no! But again, and that even further takes away the excuse for you to have to leave you are now bound to your desk by expectation.
Well, no, it means that you get all your walking done while you're at your desk. So when
I'm
you
not
leave your
talking
desk,
about that, Nathan. I'm talking about not having to work.
Oh, you work at your
If I've
desk?
got to get up and stretch my legs, I'm not working. I'm going and doing something else, and then I come back to
Steven,
do work.
you can
You're
goof off at your
subconsciously
desk as
working
well.
because your brain's still chewing on whatever problem it is.
You hush. I do no such thing.
Uh-huh. Sure you don't.
So, Jonathan, are you thankful for anything else?
Oh, that's a great question.
I've still got a lot on my list if we need filler.
We definitely
I
don't
think
have
we
to have
have-
much filler.
We have given great thanks.
Well,
today.
I guess I will say the last thing I'm thankful for is this podcast equipment because without it, we wouldn't have our quote unquote free therapy sessions weekly.
On what version are we gonna call this deck? This is version 2 or 3.
This is definitely 3.
At least 3.
Yeah, maybe
Unless we're
3.5.
are we starting at 0 or are we starting at 1?
no. We
Start at 1.
We start at 1
Okay.
for this type of labeling.
So yeah, at least 3.
Because if you count the
The original.
the apartment is 1. And then
No, I'm
this
talking about the
is-
hardware.
This is 2.
Yeah,
And
we used
then-
V1 in the apartment and here.
Well, what are you including
All
in the hardware?
all the electronics.
Well, because the Mac Mini and the TV didn't come until here, and then the rest of the deck didn't come until after that. So this would be 3, unless you're just talking about the audio stuff.
If it's just audio stack, we've only done 2 iterations because we've only replaced the recording. Yeah. Once because I bought it initially, then I bought this stuff, and then
You accumulated this stuff.
That's actually
fair.
Yeah,
That's
an
fair.
accurate description.
You know, I'm thankful for eBay. eBay is wonderful
Oh,
technology.
it is so dangerous
dangerous.
to my wallet.
Yeah, I was
It's
gonna
so
say,
bad.
your wallets are not thankful for it.
eBay for online stuff, Craigslist for local stuff.
No, Facebook Marketplace for
Really?
local.
You
I'm-
still
Yeah.
use Craigslist?
not for anything other than pets, but
Yes.
all of our current pets except for one were obtained through Craigslist.
That explains so much.
Yeah, it really does.
Oh man.
Steven, can you go ahead and present the thankful people our closing statements.
Well, we hope that all of you listening are thankful for something as well and have something to be thankful for this year. And we thank you for joining us on the Hostility in the Morning podcast. If you stayed this long and liked what you heard, leave us a comment and let us know. You can also hit us up on X, Twitter, X was Twitter, that thing, Facebook, Instagram, or you can email us at info@hostilityinthemorning.com. We upload every other Tuesday real early on Substack, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube. If you want a one-stop shop for everything hostile, you can find everything at hostilityinthemorning.com. And remember, have a hostile morning.